True Gossip, where gossip meets truth.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to another episode of True Gossip, where gossip meets truth. Our returning panelist is Tajuddin Shabazz, the man who brings his wisdom and knowledge, John Kinlaw, our Southern thinker, myself, Tanya Cole-Lennon, your analytical thinker, and of course, my co-host, Ramel, a man with words like a poet, and together we are
First Cousins. Well, welcome to another show. I'm very excited to be here. We have a special guest in the house today, and she's family. She is our cousin, and her name is Miss Shaba, representing North Carolina by way of Philly, by way of New York. So let's give it up for Miss Shaba. Welcome to the show, Miss Shaba.
Welcome.
Well, we're gonna get right to it, and we're gonna start it off. Today's topic is, as a country, as a society, as people, have we become too sensitive? So we're gonna get right started with the first question. Did society go too far by stripping the parents' freedom to administer physical discipline? I'm gonna start with our special guest, Ms. Shaba. Won't you unmute yourself first and answer?
Well, my mother said that child abuse was invented when I was born. That was her favorite line growing up. I'm the baby of 9 kids, so I used to hear those stories of my brothers and sisters with the thing, and I used to sit there and go, "What? She did that? Oh my God, what?" You know, and my mother's favorite line was, "Child abuse? That's that new she." Excuse my language, but in her Spanish accent, which, you know, that's that new she. So that was invented when I was born. I think what they did was they weaponized our children against us. Mm-hmm. And that's what they did. When they took our rights away, they weaponized our children against us. Raising my oldest children in New York City, at the time they were in elementary school, and this is when the young lady Nix Mari Brown had passed away. They actually were teaching the children in class how to call ACS. See, they changed the name from BCW to ACS as later. So they were actually teaching children how to call children and youth on their parents. So they kind of weaponized our children against us to the point that, you know, we became so hands off that it has created this culture of this disrespectful new culture of children that we have nowadays. So yes, I would say, I think there's a difference between discipline and abuse.
Yeah.
There is a line.
Yes.
And yes, there are people that have crossed that line, but yeah, I do believe that entirely.
Tajuddin, your thoughts on that?
Yes, sir. With that question is, yes, I think they have gone too far. As the scripture says, spare the rod, spare the child, or spoil the child. So again, like the sister said, there's a little thin line between abuse and discipline. And also, you know, where was this discipline or this abuse thing when we were back in slavery? Nobody stepped in and said anything about that. So that just trickled down to now. So again, who was advocate? Where was child protective surgery back, service back in the 1800s and the 1700s when we were getting our ass whipped? But then again, that's all I got to say on that point.
Understand. Tanya, your thoughts on it?
Yeah, I'm with everybody else. I'm gonna say yes. They give children too much power nowadays. You know, they tell children that if they get a butt whooping, or, you know, they parents are, you know, yelling at them too much, that they need to call CPS. And CPS is Child Protective Services. Other people don't understand what that is. So parents are afraid to discipline their children because they are afraid of being of going into the system. That's what I say. So the kids get away with things that we could not got away with back in the day. We couldn't even get away with sucking our teeth, rolling our eyes. And I'm just gonna go a little bit further. We got disciplined in school. When we was in school, we had this teacher named Miss Lambie with the golden ruler. She would carry around the stack of 3 rulers, and if we did something out of line, even one person, the whole class got in trouble, and she would bend our hands back like that and hit our hands with the golden ruler. So we understood not only discipline, but we understood what respect was. So I say, yes, the kids get away with murder. They stripped us from our rights, like Nashaba said.
In law.
I do not understand what nothing either one of y'all had just shared just about, because being born and raised in the South, these rules never existed. You were going to get, it was by culture that you was going to get your behind whooped, plain and simple. My mother gave every teacher permission to whip my behind until I finished high school. It's just that I was bigger than all of my teachers and they weren't going to put hands on me either way. She said that during any teacher parents conference, regardless of whatever rules existed at that time. I think to a sense, yes, you know, it gets to a point where some parents are tentative of getting too physical with their kids. But I still think there's a way that you can do it without getting too obsessive with it. You do have some parents that don't understand how to talk or teach their children, so that's the only way they know how to get through to their children. I don't agree with that. When I discipline my children or my child, I make sure that I have a conversation with her. I make sure that she understands why she's getting the discipline, right? And I think there's different ways that you can still do it and do it in a manner where you can still be civil about it. I got my last whooping at 12, 13 years old because my parents got tired of breaking broomsticks and anything else that was in the house. You know, so it's like, hey, listen, my dad told me, I remember clear as day, hey, son, I ain't gonna whip you no more. We getting tired of breaking, tearing up stuff, whatever. Listen, you gonna listen to us, or you gonna wish you had to listen to us later on in life? You see what I'm saying? So I guess it depends on culturally where you're raised, how different things are being enforced. But in the South, I don't think our phones worked when it came to dialing DSS or 911 at those times.
All right, I'm gonna close us out on this. Listen, whether they gave the children the power or not, they definitely took away authority from the parents. I'm growing up in the same era most of y'all, in the 70s, early 80s. I mean, I got whippings until I was about 15 years old. And then at that point, I was told, I brought you into this world and I'll take you out this world.
That's right.
All right. So it was one of those things whereas I firmly believe physical discipline, whippings, spankings, whatever you want to call, made me a better person today. Today's parents now are reasoning and bargaining and you know, oh, if you do this, I can get you this. No, it was none of that. It was either you do it and maybe you get this. And as a result of it, I see more of a friendship between parents and children today. And trust me, as much as I love my parents to death, we were never friends.
Right.
They were mom and dad.
Right.
And I knew who they were. One way or another, they reminded me too. So yes, I think that they have gone too far. And as a result of it, we see the differences of children today. I mean, you have children today that could be your children's friends, and they'll look you right in the face and don't even say hello.
That's right.
They don't even address you as Mr. or Mrs. You know, and to this day, if I see one of the neighbors from where I grew up that was a friend of my mom, I don't care if they're 75 to 100, it would be Mr. and Mrs. to this day. Mm-hmm. And I don't know how often I'm called that by today's children. So it has a ripple effect going down, because it's not just about the discipline, but it's about mannerism as well. And that's why we have children today the way they are. And it's a shame, because it's so much opportunity for kids today. If they had a little bit of discipline or some mannerism, sky is truly the limit for them. But we're gonna move on. And I'm gonna start this next question off because Tajuddin, he reminded us last week that he's a comedian by trade. So it's only right that we address him first on this next question. Should comedians stay away from jokes that target the LGBTQ community and race? Why don't you start us off, Tajuddin?
Hell no. Hell no. See, there's a difference between humor and laughter and bashing.
Right.
So I'm not caught up on the sensitivity. It's like I say, if you bashing, that's one thing. But when you put humor to a serious situation, that lightens things. And and it's kind of funny is that with the question, you put LGBTQ along with race. You lump them in the same thing, like they two different entities, which they are. But again, a lot of times some people are too sensitive. So again, if I'm gonna make a joke about the LGBT community, don't think I'm just gonna target them. I'm gonna make jokes about other people and everything. So it's a difference between bashing and humor. So again, no, they can get joked on too. Anybody can get joked on, but I'm not going to bash it, or my whole show isn't going to just be on the LGBTQ community. So again, and also as a comedian, when you go before you go out, you notice who the audience is. So before you get, you have a plan of what you're going to agenda, or what you're going to say, but you never just focus on it, because again, you may look out there and see a group of blah blah blah, but you don't target that group. Your humor is your humor. That's your craft, and you learn that over a period of time.
Understand. Tanya, your thoughts on this?
I'm like this. I'm with Tajudeen. No, I mean, I don't think that comedians should steer away from that, because, like he said, it's just humor. It's how you present it. People are just too damn sensitive to me. We are. It's stuff used to be funny with Richard Pryor and Red Fox and even Eddie Murphy. They would go out on stage and they would say things and we would laugh and we would understand that it was just a joke, but people are too sensitive. They take it, my thing is they're taking it personal and not taking it as a joke. And I know they probably seen something that the comedian said that might have happened right in front of their face and say, oh yeah, that happened, but they getting too sensitive and they taking it too personal. So I don't think they should steer away from it. Just stay funny. Do what you have to do. Don't bash and don't be harsh about it, like Tajudeen said, and know your audience. So no, I don't think that comedians should stay away from it.
Right.
Our Southern free thinker, Ken Law, what's your thoughts on this?
I say no. But let's look at it this way. It's a lot of times it's not what you say, it's how you say it.
Right.
I think when you talk about Richard Pryor or your Dave Chappelle, they have a way of being able to address all these different topics and make it something funny of it by the way they just lay it out there. But then you have someone like Paul Moody, who, if he were to address certain things, he's going to make some people leave the crowd because he just is a little bit more cutthroat. And but my thing is, it's a little catchy because it's a little iffy because you got your number of black comedians that can address a lot of different things for a number of different reasons, and particularly when it comes to race, right? But then you have a certain portion of your white comedians where they have to cut maybe a big portion of their segments in half because they can't address certain topics that they would like to, according to their counterparts. Other than like someone like a Gary Owens, who can kind of kiki cow about when it comes to black culture and black things. Why? Because he's married to a black woman, so we give him that.
He invited him to the barbecue.
Right. So it's like, I feel like it should be open for everybody, but it's not what you say. So it's kind of how you say it. And again, it's almost like being a bully in a situation. You don't want someone to bully someone. You see what I'm saying? So it's like, you got to know your audience. You got to check that temperature some. And some people can get away, just like all of us. I can say something, Ramel can say something, Tajudeen say, but somebody is going to be taken 3 different ways.
Right.
So I think it should be open, but I think they should tailor their craft like the Richard Pryor did, to where he can commercialize himself because he was able to talk to a much broader, wider audience because he had that craft. Comedians just got to pick, work on their craft.
It's funny you mentioned Gary Owens. He's like the John B. or the Steven Seagal of comedians.
Right.
There's always one that gets invited to the barbecue. Before we get to Nashaba, I just want to add a quick 2 cents. My thing is this: when it comes down to, especially comedy, it's entertainment. It's not personal.
Right.
It's just entertainment. I'm not saying that this, that, or that is all fair games, But guys, people, it's just entertainment.
Right,
That's
right.
all it is. It's nothing personal.
Mhm.
And you know, I listen to all of you, and I kind of agree with you. As long as you're not bashing
Right.
anyone and making it personal, it
Mhm.
should be okay to be able to express humor in certain categories. But if you really getting deep with it and you have no regards for people and you just bashing and bash, you know,
Mhm.
in other words,
It gets personal
you shoot
when they start
someone, then you
addressing
stab
heckling.
them, and then you suffocate them, then move on.
And that's
You know
a
what I
Paul
mean?
Mooney.
So,
And that's a
but
Paul
just
Mooney.
But
right,
that's right.
just keep in mind it's entertainment. So I'm gonna let Nashaba close us out on this. So the floor is yours.
I concur with everyone. I agree with everyone. But like we said, you know, like someone said, you have to know your audience. But your audience has to know the comedian also.
Exactly.
So if you're gonna go to a Paul Mooney show or what is he, Carlisle's his last name? I always forget his last name. You should expect to know what you're gonna expect to hear from him. So we know he gonna call you a cracker, he gonna call you this, he gonna call you that, he gonna call a gay person a faggot, he gonna call you a lesbo. He's so disrespectful. But if you put yourself in that situation to be in his audience, you have to accept that. You gotta accept that. Now, Richard Pryor, as you said, Richard Pryor, I think today couldn't deal with the climate today because as Tanya said, the sensitivity is too much. Because Richard Pryor was a little crass with it too. But at the same time, as someone else said, he knew he read his audience. But again, today's society is just that sensitivity, this what they call it, that the cancel culture society of today is a bit too much. Everything is offensive. But at the same time, you go to drag shows and you have the drag people that are doing drag that are talking about a straight person. So how do we got, so it's okay for them to bash us, but yet it's still not bash or make fun of us. But in turn, if we say it to them, it's a problem. There's a fine line there that I think, it's a bit too much. Everybody's too sensitive. We got too many snowflakes right now, and it's just a bit too much for me. Make you want to stay in the house all day, every day, and not go anywhere.
And on that note, we're gonna move on. So the next question is: when an incident occurred between black people and black citizens, I should say, and an officer, it seems like we're overly sensitive and want to claim that it's racially motivated. We're going to start this one with Kinlaw. Do you think that every incident is racially motivated between an officer and a black citizen?
I do not. First off, let me just start by saying, there are good officers and then there are bad officers. Just like there are good employees and then there are bad employees. We're all human beings. So you're going to have good and bad in every entity of any occupation or corporation that is out there. I think that we're quick to pull the trigger on a lot of things because it goes back to, as Tajadeem said, back into when the officers, first was created. Officers was created to only target black people, and then it went on to where you had the more modernized police corporations and things of that nature. However, what you saw, what you always tend to go back to is the civil rights movement and other movements prior to that, where you just see images of police beating or shooting or killing or whatever the case may be, or police being in tune with the Klan or whatever else that was persecuting and prosecuting the black community. So it's always kind of like that embedded reminder of, see, the same thing, the same thing, the same thing. And what I think people are upset about is, yes, race is one thing, but then to go through the justice system and the justice system backs it up. So it's like a double-edged sword. You see what I'm saying? So it gives them, it's empowering a certain group of people to do things to another group of people. And that's where that big boiling pot just continues to spill over. So it's like that hot teapot. Once it's hot, it's going to continue to sprout. It's going to continue to sprout. And until you take it off and leave it off that eye long enough, it's not going to cool down because it's still hot. And I think that so many cases are happening to where we can't even get a cool down moment, you know? Boom. Ahmaud Arbery, you know? And then there's Breonna. And then there's the George, you know what I'm saying? I'm still trying to get over Sandra Bland. I'm still trying to get over Tamar Rice. You know? I just got over the Rodney King maybe about 15 years ago.
I'm trying to get over Eleanor Bumpers. How about that?
There's so many different cases, and there's so many different cases that has not gone national. You know, these are things that just happen locally amongst in our communities where we ain't even got to even turn on the TV. We see it happen every day. Right. So it gets to a point where, and I'm going to wrap it up, but it gets to the point where when we see something happen, we automatically on edge because we haven't been taking off that eye long enough to even cool down. 2 minutes.
Excellent point. We're going to go to Nashaba. Unmute yourself. Your thoughts, Nashaba.
Well, I could honestly say growing up in New York City, and, you know, most of us here have grown up in a city, we remember the community cop. We remember that community cop, especially if you grew up in the projects. You know, you remember the community cop who knew your mother, who knew everybody in your family, who played basketball with the kids, who was able to discipline a child. I remember that. But I also remember that crooked cop that did those things in the community too. So for us, this is not new. We've seen it every day, as Ken Law said. We don't need to turn on the TV to see this because we've seen it in our communities every day. I think because of phones, now the world is starting to see it. Mm-hmm. So but we have to also remember that it's not really a race thing, because from my experience with police, some black officers is worse than white officers.
Right.
You have some black officers that forget where they come from. I knew a young lady who grew up with us in the projects. I mean, she was from the dirty family. You know, she was that family that your mother said you can't hang out with them because they got piojos, they got lice, those kind of kids. Okay, that you smelled their apartment 2 floors downstairs.
Right.
And now she's a police officer. She's the worst thing smoking. Okay. Wow. You know, so, you know, it's like, okay, there's some bad cops that are white, there's bad cops that are black. And also it's the way they're trained.
Yeah, I agree with the training.
To police different communities in a different way.
Exactly. I agree with the training.
So they're trained to police the black community very different from the way they're trained to treat the white community. When I moved from New York City, I moved to East Stroudsburg, Pennsylvania, in the Poconos, a little town. I only got to see my people in church. You know, my baby was like the token black girl in the class type situation. And to see the way they policed my town.
It was fascinating.
Right. To go to Mount Pocono, which is maybe 20 minutes, not even 20 minutes for me, to see how they treat them, totally different way. Totally different.
Let me get to Tanya on this one. Tanya, your thoughts?
Y'all done said it all. Y'all done said a mouthful. But I don't think that the black people are too sensitive. And the reason why is because due to what's happening now and over 400 years of this abuse that we have. You have to remember that the KKK and all of them, they are the police officers, they are the judges. These are the ones that are in, you know, the offices today. You know what I'm saying? And what's happened recently, and like Nashaba said, with the cell phones, we are seeing everything instant. Mm-hmm. So we are seeing these things right when it happens. So I don't feel that we are being too sensitive. I don't even know what to say about it, but I truly believe that we can't take it out of our mind and we can't throw it away. And I think that we just have to look at the whole situation, look at what the issue is, and not jump to conclusions. and make sure we got all the facts first before we jump to a conclusion and say that it's a racial incident and not an incident that deems to be what's appeared to be happening. I mean, do I make any sense to you guys?
I understand what you're saying.
That's what I meant on that.
Let's give Tajudeen a chance to answer on this question.
Yes, sir. On the question is, see, we, as everybody was saying, there's been a history of the white cop on the black citizen. That's what differs from everything. So again, I'm not one of the people to say, as they call in conscious community, what you reaching, like saying that, well, see, the green olives are in the jar and the black olives are in the can. So that's showing, representing the man, the black olive being locked down. I'm not that type of person. But when there's a history of repeated white officer on black citizen situation or incidents, yeah, that's racially motivated. Because again, to bear witness to it, even with cell phones and cameras and everything, I'm waiting to see a black officer abusing a white citizen. And I haven't heard that yet. And I'm not going to say that it didn't, but again, that's not recorded.
Right.
You know, see.
All right. Yeah, so this is what we're going to do. I'm just going to make a quick statement on this question. I like to think that not every incident is racially motivated, but I can't help to believe that it is because of systemic racism.
Right.
You know, as Nashaba said, they may police a different neighborhood a different way because black people live there. So we don't know. I hope it's not. And as far as Kinlaw said, good cop, there are some. I'm not going to say there's good cops and bad cops. I'm just going to say at moments, cops act well, and sometimes they don't. If you're a good cop and you got bad cops in the precinct and you're not telling on them, you're just as bad as them.
That's
so
right.
I can't say you're a good cop. But we're going to go through rapid fire right now, really just in and out on these questions here. We're going to start off with Tanya, and we're going to go around the horn. This question is, with all the Me Too movements and similar movements, do you think it's a good thing or have they gone too far?
I don't think that they're going too far. I just think that people infiltrate those movements. And what I mean by that is that the movement start out being about that situation, like the Me Too movements, like the Black Lives Matter and stuff of that nature. And then you have people that come in and they infiltrate and they start making it to be something else that is not. And then you start to lose focus on what the movement was about. So I'm just going to leave it at that, and that's where I'm at on that. That infiltration, and they interfere on what the movement should be.
Kinlaw, quickly, your thoughts on that?
I'm cool with the Me Too movement. There just needs to be some type of accountability for the false accusations that is also brought upon that movement as well. Because you do have people, as Tanya just mentioned, that it goes in and they take advantage of that. You know, Brian Banks is a primary example of that. You know, football player that end up having to go through all that, be ankle monitors and everything like that, and come to find that was a made-up story from the whole time. Lost his whole career, almost his life. So, Me Too movement, cool, but there needs to be accountability for those who does these false allegations on these cases.
All right, great. Tajudeen?
I don't think there's a problem with too many movements. I'm just tired of a lot of movements that don't have a real agenda and a real program installed to back up their movement. You know, because again, the movements are brought up for an incident or something like that, but they don't have no true agenda. They don't really know, sort of like saying they don't even know what to ask for. So it's just a bunch of people, like a bunch of disorganized confusion, you know, organized confusion. Peace.
Ms. Shaba?
I have to agree with Tanya in terms of, you know, it starts off great, but then you have those people that come in with their own agendas, as everyone else said, and it derails everything, and it gives it a bad name.
Well, listen, it's been a wonderful show. I want to thank all of y'all for participating. Thank our special guest, Nashaba. Of course, our crew.
I hope you invite me back. This is fun.
Yeah, hopefully we will invite you back. I like to thank.
Stay quiet, Tanya. Look.
I'd like to thank the Southern free thinker, Mr. Kinlaw, and of course, the man of wisdom, Tajudeen Shabazz. And another great show, and I look forward to us doing it again next week. And I turn it over to our founder, my cousin Tanya, close us out.
Thank you guys. We thank you all for tuning in. We love you guys. And if you miss any of our episodes, we want you to like, follow, share, subscribe, and go to our IG, our Facebook, our podcast, which is iTunes, Spotify. We are there for you. You can listen to our weekly wrap up. And hey, listen, share this with everybody so y'all can come out, because True Gossip is where truth meets gossip. And we love you guys for tuning in. Have a great night.
Peace and blessings.